You're listening to WPVM LP Asheville 103.7, globally at WPVMFM.org. And this is the Home Business Success Show. Greetings and welcome to the Home Business Success Show. I'm your host, Hank Eder, also known as Hank the PR Guy. Folks who run home businesses have some great advantages over brick and mortar businesses. They also face unique challenges. As we speak with home business entrepreneurs on the show each week, we'll gain valuable insights on how to balance business and life and to share best practices for people who run home businesses. Our first guest, Jensen Gelfond, is the owner of Asheville Digital Lifestyle. Founded in 2012, Asheville Digital Lifestyle provides teaching, problem solving, and setup for the technology in your life. Our lives are connected to our computers and smartphones, and Asheville Digital Lifestyle helps to ensure that everything runs smoothly to put a smile on your face. Owner Jensen Gelfond also specializes in teaching to all technology skill levels so you can use your technology more effectively and joyfully. Whether you're an entrepreneur too busy to deal with tech problems by yourself or you're looking to sharpen your skills, Asheville Digital Lifestyle is your partner to make technology a positive and productive force in your life. Welcome to the show, Jensen.
Oh, thanks so much for having me, Hank. It's a pleasure and a privilege to be here. And right before the show, I realized that you and I have known each other for almost 6 years now. I look back at our first email, I think it was October of 2014. And in that time, you've helped myself and my business tremendously. So thank you for that and for all that you've done to help me, especially with my email newsletters.
Well, I appreciate that. I really do. Well, tell us a bit about Asheville Digital Lifestyle.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So I've been doing the tech thing my entire life since age 5. And I just am passionate about computers, digital technology, and what it takes to make those devices work for you and me, for everyday people. And I started my business when I realized that the kinds of relationships that people had with technologists can sometimes be pretty fraught. There can be a lot of ego that gets in the way between techies helping everyday people, and sometimes it just doesn't happen at all. And I wanted to try something new. And so my goal is to be as accessible as possible, to use language that people are comfortable with, and to really get to the nut not only of your technical problem, but also what may be holding you back in terms of your relationship, either frustration or even fear around technology, and just break that down bit by bit so that you can really enjoy it and make it work for you. That's what I do.
That's quite a lot to be doing. What kinds of people do you find yourself helping?
It's a really broad spectrum, and that's what makes my job or a career, or really passion, really enjoyable for me. So I help people across the spectrum. You could be almost any age. I do have quite a few clients who did not grow up with technology originally and may not be particularly comfortable with it. So people who may be retired, semi-retired, starting a second act, those are the kinds of people who need someone who's not gonna be necessarily that typical technologist who may use terminology that you're not as comfortable with. So I really do work with people in that space who may not otherwise get along with techies. But really, if you've got a hard technology problem that you're not sure how to get solved, or you just want someone to give you a really luxurious, comfortable experience, that's where I fit in.
Yeah, for many people, maybe they could solve the problem, but for business people especially, sometimes the time and energy that they might take to put into that is not served best. It served best by finding someone like yourself who could get in there, get it done quickly, get it done right, and then they could focus on what they do best, which is running their business.
Yeah, yep. That's really where I come into play for quite a few small business owners and solo business owners. There's so many different hats that we have to wear on a regular basis. It may not be in your best interest to have to spend 2, 3, 4 hours troubleshooting something that's really unfamiliar. When I've been around the block on most technology issues quite a few times, can get to the nut of it really quickly and get you going in the right direction. Yep, that's how I like it to work.
Very good. What are some of the problems that people ask you for help with? Is there a common one, or is it all very different?
Oh, well, there are a few more common ones. When someone is buying or considering buying a new technology device, that can be a moment where it's really nice to have an expert in play, even before you buy that device. How much memory or hard drive space do you need on this next phone or computer? Those kinds of decisions that you make are critical in how much you're going to enjoy the device and whether it's really going to be the right one for you. So advising people pre-sale or helping people with those tricky pieces of technology, such as your printer and why it's not wirelessly printing, one of the very most common technology questions in the current day and age. Or just after you buying a piece of technology, realizing that it just doesn't work at all like the last one did. We live in an age of incredible inertia when it comes to technology. Everything is changing on a constant basis. We're not all happy with how fast things are changing, or the fact that we can't expect a program that we love and know to work the same way tomorrow that it did today. But when you get into a situation where you're feeling like you've just gotten a little too deep, don't know where to go next, maybe a tutorial is what's necessary. And that's what I love, just sitting down with folks and making them feel comfortable with their technology so you can break down that barrier and use it joyfully.
Well, I think for business people, that's pretty important because people's needs differ depending on what they want. I mean, there's people who would be happy having just a Chromebook because that's what they do. They surf the web and they have a good time doing that. And then there's business people who have very specific needs and they want their computers to do specific things. And I think that's where having an expert like yourself would be really a boon to them. How are people using their technology differently now that we're still not totally out of lockdown with the pandemic?
Oh, yeah. So it really has changed, and the amount of importance people are placing on their technology has changed. So especially socially, we're really using technology to connect with each other way more than we did before the pandemic. We don't all want to be doing it this way, but it's what we have to do to stay connected with our loved ones, friends, family, even people in the same town. Many of us are still trying to social distance and do the other things during the pandemic. And so just the importance of having a smoothly working technology system that you can really understand and quickly be able to do what you need to do so that you can participate in society. It's amazing just how quickly things like Zoom have really taken off and become a part of mainstream society. Think of how often you might have been video conferencing prior to March of 2020. Most people were not doing it on a regular basis, but it has absolutely exploded. So needing a smoothly operating computer that you can understand what's going on and understand what to do when it's not working properly suddenly has really come to the forefront. And of course, all the things that we say about what people are doing in their personal lives applies double to business owners, because it's not just your personal relationships, but your ability to bring home the bread and make money during a time that can be very difficult. If you're applying for a job and it's a Zoom interview, it could be a major turning point in your life if you're able to get the technology working or not. So people are just needing to be extra keen on ensuring their setups work. And I've certainly gone through quite a few different personal technology setups with folks who are concerned about that.
I see. And also, during this time, since I've seen on your site that you're not taking any face-to-face appointments at this point in time, how is it that you're able to help the folks who actually have problems that need troubleshooting in their computers?
That's right. Yeah. So it's true. I'm not taking in-person appointments right now. I am working remote only. Some IT businesses have reopened completely, just the way that they were before, but especially because some of my services tend to help people who didn't grow up with technology, people who may be in that riskier age group. I've just made it a decision to really be extremely conservative so that there's no risk to my clients. And luckily, I already had some pieces in place before the pandemic to help people remotely. So I use a business program called TeamViewer. It's actually free for personal use, but for my business use, I pay for it. And that allows my clients to share what's on their screens with me, allow me to use their mouse and keyboard, really give a similar experience to if we were side by side. We'll be on the phone. We won't necessarily be on Zoom because it would be too distracting to be looking at each other at the same time we're looking at each other's screens. So phone is the preferred way that I work with my clients, along with TeamViewer, to see their screens, not just computer screens, but smartphone screens, iPad screens, Mac screens, PC screens. It does it all. And, it's worked a lot better than I expected it to. I thought that being on there every day, helping several clients per day, might expose some flaws, but with the vast majority of issues that clients have come to me with, I have been able to help them out via TeamViewer. It's been really gratifying to help people who thought that they would need to wait a long time. I've helped people who are in quarantine situations. Some of my clients live in some of our local retirement communities that are on lockdown, but I'm able to help them just the same with TeamViewer. So that's been an incredible resource for me.
So with TeamViewer, not to belabor the point, but with TeamViewer, not only can you share their screen, but if need be, you can actually get into their system. You can install software or uninstall software and do all the things that you have to do to help them out as if you are actually there, right?
Yeah, if they can connect to the internet and the computer turns on normally and they can click on the TeamViewer app, then I can get right in and help them. And it's totally permission based. So they give me a password in order for me to get in. And the typical TeamViewer setup is password changes each time you start the program. So once you give permission and we're there on the phone together, we can start troubleshooting together. And because we're both seeing the same thing, I can still do much of the same teaching that I was doing in person before. And of course, the expectation is getting back to in person eventually, but this has definitely taken the pressure off. I'm happy to say that Asheville Digital Lifestyle continues to do well, and I feel like I'm able to continue helping my clients in the way that they need. That's been really gratifying and what's been kind of a tough time for everybody.
It certainly has been. Well, I'd like to remind our listeners that you're listening to WPVM LP Asheville 103.7, globally at WPVMFM.org, and this is the Home Business Success Show. I'm your host, Hank Eder. My guest in this segment is Jensen Gelfond of Asheville Digital Lifestyle. Jensen, do you think that solo business owners have special technology needs that are different than, say, brick and mortar or other types of businesses?
Yeah, well, you just have to wear a lot of different hats as a solo business owner. Now, you can hire people like me to take care of your technology. You can hire someone to take care of your taxes. You can hire people in all of the various realms, but you're the decision maker, and sometimes you don't get as much opportunity to get feedback from other people. You may literally be the only person in the room sometimes, and it takes having a thought process in place to either be your own sounding board or of course have trusted people and mentors that you go to. I'm lucky to have some great mentors in my life. I would consider you one of them, Hank. And so, there's a little more riding on the decision-making process than, everybody trooping into the boardroom and making the decision together. And we can debate, the pros and cons of each, but the solo business owner is in the driver's seat all the time. And that also means that we have to be more cognizant of typical pitfalls that may take away productivity. As a solo business owner without a brick and mortar location, your home is where you live and where all the important things happen, or many of the important things happen in your life and in the life of your business. The business takes on a life of its own, as all business owners know. It kind of, it takes on its own personality. And so there's quite the split that can come in from trying to manage your business and manage your life at home. And it's very, it can be difficult to keep a proper separation of those two. It's certainly something that I've worked on and have to continue to work on over time. But I might say that I do a few things that I've really found helpful. I know you might ask some similar questions here later, but just to tell you one thing is I'm very protective of, when is it time for business and when is it time for the rest of my life? And regardless of how important your business is, if you don't take care of everything else in your life, your business is going to suffer. And so finding those separations can be more difficult for a business owner, a solo business owner, than it is for somebody punching in at their 9-to-5 job. I'm at work versus I'm at home. You can really turn it on and turn it off. But as a business owner at home, we have to look at other ways to separate work life and home life. And so I'm very careful to set aside time in the evening and on weekends to do those things. If I were on call 24/7, or at any moment I might be picking up a call, or even if it was at night or on the weekend, I don't think I would have made it 8 years or almost 8 years in my business as I have. I've had to be protective of my personal life. Even though I love my clients and I'm out there rooting for people and fighting for people Monday through Friday every week. But you know what? When it becomes that evening time or that weekend time, it's time for me to take care of everything else in my life. And I've luckily been able to take great joy in really trying to put my best person forward for both business and personal, and creating a separation between the two is incredibly important.
I think you've touched on something that really hits home for a lot of solo business people, solopreneurs, I like to call them, whether they are home businesses or even if they run a little office of some kind. But the solopreneur has that issue of separating the home and the personal life. And thanks for touching on that. What kind of a home office setup do you have?
Oh, yeah. So I've got a couple of things that I'd love to share about my home office setup. I've got a standing desk. I would never give it back. And as a techie, I actually have had more opportunities since the pandemic to stay fit and to stretch it out and to make sure that my back stays healthy. I mean, there are some really interesting problems that can develop with your body if you are in a job that may require you to sit quite a lot. And as a technologist, sitting and just dealing with whatever's on that screen is certainly something that happens quite a bit. But having a sit-stand situation where you can change positions on a regular basis is really important. And I've got like a dual monitor setup. I've got a laptop that I take with me if I do go out, but that laptop gets plugged into a docking station that has a monitor, ergonomic keyboard and mouse that keep me going. And, for some people may not have had to worry about things like ergonomics before, but now that they're home, if that happens to be the case, then suddenly we're getting some more cricks in the back and such. So, spending some money on something like a standing desk can reduce the cost you pay in chiropractor or anything else that goes wrong. I've certainly have a storied history with my own back, but doing that and staying involved with doing body work. I have several different practitioners around town that I have gone to in the past, or even take virtual classes. Whatever it takes to move your body. Motion is lotion, as one of my favorite practitioners likes to say. So for me in the home office, that's important. And of course, delineating what's a workspace and what's not a workspace as well inside of your home.
Well, thanks for that. We got a sitting standing desk for my wife in her music studio, and we're talking about getting one for me because I do need one. I sit on my butt too much. I do try to get out 5, 6 days a week and walk down my street, which has this beautiful hill. And I like going up and down that hill, 4 or 5 times and then walking back to where I live. So it keeps me from being totally sitting on my butt all day. But I think the sitting standing desk would be a very good idea. Okay, well, we keep hearing about how a big percentage of business these days is done on mobile devices. Are smartphones about to replace computers?
Great question. So it turns out that smartphones have gotten just as powerful as computers. If we're talking about our top-end smartphones, or even not your top-end smartphone, just your typical smartphone, they are just as powerful as a typical computer in terms of the chip that's inside. So on that level, a smartphone could replace a computer, but computers can still do a lot of things that might not be possible on a smartphone. So certain programs will require a computer, and the ergonomics is really important as well. So if you're spending all day long tapping on your smartphone screen, you'll be paying for it, whether it's now or a month from now. It's just not so great for your body to be curved down, looking down at your smartphone screen. So when it comes to the actual form factor of the smartphone or even the iPad, there are some disadvantages, whereas having a setup like the one I described for like the standing desk is just a lot easier on it. But we are really blurring the lines. And if we're not talking about someone who does technology or is on the computer for a living, but just somebody who is trying to live their life with technology, we are seeing smartphones and iPads start to replace computers. If all you need to do is some basic communication with those you love and some internet searches, which, you know what, a fair amount of people, that's what they need, they may be able to get by just fine with a smartphone or an iPad or something like that. And the great news with that is, of course, that you can find these devices for really low cost. So we're starting to see a little more equity, perhaps, when it comes to who can be on the team of people with smart devices. So who can Zoom and who can do all the things that we're being asked to do now, because all of our tech devices can now hop on and make those things happen. We're really seeing things broaden out in terms of more people having accessibility. But if you're on your technology all day long, you're definitely going to want to have a computer of some sort to aid you throughout the day.
Which brings me to the question, if somebody is looking for a new computer right now for their business, what are some of the things they should consider?
Oh yeah, so solid state storage, or SSD, is your number one factor in a computer that's going to be nice and fast for you. And also this kind of technology just tends to last longer and is more reliable. So make sure your computer has a solid state hard drive. Many cheaper computers still are sold without them because it is a less expensive part. And then, of course, everybody's always asking Mac or PC, and I do help people with both, and both have their own pros and cons. So, some people are really a Mac guy or PC guy, but I want to listen to my clients, understand their preferences, understand their needs, and help them choose what's right for them. So, Macs and PCs are definitely both viable computers, and even Chromebooks, which are incredibly inexpensive. Like you were talking about before, if you just need to web browse, it may be a Chromebook. So we start with the really big questions to figure out what kind of computer overall. Then we get into the specs like solid state. And then we talk about, all right, well, what's your budget? And do you want a business machine or a personal machine? Because especially in the PC world, you walk into Best Buy and you're getting a less expensive machine that the manufacturer considers personal. If you spend a couple $100s more, you can buy a different class of machine known as a business class machine that actually has higher quality parts inside. So understanding how long you expect to own the computer and just what your budget is can help us really zero in. And I provide a service called a white glove new computer service that allows, that empowers me to help my clients through every step of the computer buying process. So if you just want to leave it to an expert to tell me what you need, and I am able to translate that into a product and experience for you, we totally do that. But yeah, make sure your next computer has solid state.
Okay. We keep hearing the expression cloud-based business, but a lot of people don't know what is the cloud. What is the cloud?
Yeah, the cloud is your data stored on other people's computers and connected to the internet, basically. So, you pick one or two companies to store your cloud data. If you've got an iPhone, that's Apple's iCloud that may be storing your data, and you can access it from wherever you are. So the cloud is just you paying another company to have your data available to you no matter what device you're using. And that usually involves a subscription fee of some sort, an annual subscription fee. But ultimately, if you have more than one device, and you're looking to get the same information on your smartphone as your computer, you're picking a cloud provider, Dropbox, Apple, Microsoft, Google Drive, etc., to hold that data for you, to back it up for you, to keep it safe, and then to allow you to access it whenever and wherever you need.
Would you say this information that you store on the cloud is very safe? I don't mean to be hacked, but I mean the chances of losing it are not that great?
Great question. So the companies have a fantastic track record when it comes to storing and backing up your data. So just spontaneously losing information is extraordinarily rare and don't generally come across that. But security is up to each of us because you can do things like turning on what's known as two-factor authentication, which means if somebody logs in to your cloud provider with your password, it will send you a text message with an extra code, and you have to punch that code in order to get access to your information. So having that extra amount of verification, not just your password, and especially if you use the same password in two different places, and then suddenly one place gets hacked, and now suddenly your other cloud storage is also hacked. This can happen, and I do help people with security. So ensuring that you have different passwords for different websites, which I can help you to make easy, and then turning on two-factor authentication will generally be of great help to you. If you help yourself with these steps, then it's unlikely that you would be hacked.
Very good. Well, time is getting short, so I would like to ask you, what is the best way for our listeners to get in touch with you?
Oh, yeah. So please visit my website, Asheville Digital Lifestyle.com. I've got my phone number and email there. You can book a free 15-minute consultation there. That's the clearinghouse for everything Asheville Digital Lifestyle. Absolutely.
Well, Jensen, thank you so much for taking this time to be here with us today.
Oh, thank you, Hank. It's been a pleasure. Absolutely.
All right. Well, we'll meet again soon.
Be well, y'all.
Bye-bye. You're listening to WPVM LP Asheville 103.7 globally at WPVMFM.org. And this is the Home Business Success Show. I'm your host, Hank Eder. I'd like to remind you that WPVM's mission is to foster community through programming that cultivates dialogue to inform and to entertain. The station provides the media for artists, businesses, community leaders, and nonprofits to share their voice on live radio. Listeners are invited to help support WPVM's efforts by making a tax-deductible contribution. You can do so by going to the website WPVMFM.org and looking at the donate options on the upper right side of your screen. My next guest is David Riddell. David and his wife Christina own Big Frog custom t-shirts. The store opened in 2016, creating printed apparel in all quantities with thousands of options to assist businesses with having their logo design visible everywhere they go. David and Christina went to Western Carolina. After 25 years in corporate retail as a multi-unit district manager, they ventured into entrepreneurship by opening this business and one other. Their family is in the area and both kids are in or have been in the local school system. David is a member of 4 chambers of commerce, on the board of 3 nonprofits, and he is very active in the community. So far on the Home Business Success Show, all of our guests have been home business entrepreneurs. As you could tell, David's in a brick and mortar business by the sounds that we're hearing in the background. And for those of you listening on the radio, we do apologize for that. But although David runs a brick and mortar business, he's quite adept at growing business through something called relationship marketing. And he's here today to show us how relationship marketing can help all of us to grow our businesses. Welcome to the show, David.
Nice to see you. And I know, as Jensen spoke about, we all go years back, right? As I started hitting the trails 4.5 years ago, you were there at those monthly meetings. So it's been a long road, and we do it together in community.
That's awesome. Well, you know, David, you always held a very special spot in my heart, because a number of years ago when we went to the Madison Chamber Expo, and I hadn't set up a chamber type expo before, and I was kind of looking around, casting about what to do, and you just hopped up on a chair and started setting up my banners and helping me get the table going. And I've always thought of you as that kind of a guy that's always there to help out whoever's available that needs help. And
that's relationships, right?
Yeah.
It takes a village is the expression, and you can have your name on the door, or you can be more than that. And that's what you wanted to talk about today. It's always relationships, and it's not about you, it's about everyone else.
Well, that's a great concept. Well, now you and I are networkers. We like to go to networking events. But would you tell me the difference between networking and relationship marketing?
So you can have networking without relationship marketing, but you can't have relationship marketing without networking. Relationship marketing is the long game. It says, I'm not going to run around and see as many people and try to get my name out as fast as possible, right? That's networking. Networking is meet, pass out. How can I get the word out of what I do? Relationship marketing, being the slower turn, is how do I get to know every individual on a core level? How do they get to know me more than the sign on the door? So it takes more time. You can easily knock on doors and find the big sale, but what happens when you don't have it? Do you have that community? Do you have the people that trust you, like you, and the army, right? A group of frogs, our store being Big Frog, a group of frogs is called an army. How do you have an army? How do you have a village? And that's relationship marketing, the slow, find the in with everybody, be able to relate to everybody so that you refer, right? There's networking and referral marketing, which is relationship marketing, where you can refer somebody as much, better than what they know of you.
Well, I think that's an important thing, because trust is a big part of doing business. And, you know, I have a friend, I like to use this as an example. I have a friend who went to one networking meeting with me and then decided about a week later, when I asked him about it, he said, well, nobody called me. I didn't get any business from that. So it's probably a waste of my time to go to these meetings.
Right.
And I tried to explain to him that, you know, you have to go, you have to be there, you have to be a face that they recognize and a person behind that face that they trust. And then you'll start getting business. Or if you don't get their business, like you just said, somebody will refer you. You know, I know somebody who needs this service, and my friend so-and-so does that. And I know him and I like him, and I think you will too.
Well, there's Yeah, there's two sides of this. First, you didn't say, I know you as the guy that does this for a living. You said, we were both at something and you dove in to help me for zero reason that helps your business. Okay, that's a relationship. Secondly, you and I have sat, and to quote Hamilton, in the room where it happens many times in a networking event. But the fact that we can give each other speech is relationship marketing. You show once, you go, you whip in and out. That's networking. You're trying to, ye who passes out the most business card wins. And you know what? Those are not invoices. Those are an invitation to connect. And when after 4.5 years, you and I cannot see each other for months and go, how you been and how's the this? And with your clients, you try to get to know when they become a customer. To think about it that way, relationship marketing. A customer is transactional. A client, you know their name, something about them. You can talk about the dog, the kids. It's a long-term thing. Well, in networking, oh, I got a whole bunch of cards and I called them or I sent out my email. They become transactional. But when we can sit there and say, do you remember when? Or Hank, I met your wife. Or do you remember that party that networking thing we were at? Then it becomes personal. So then instead of name, face, and where they work, right? You'll see us the first time and go, oh yeah, they were cool. The second time, do you remember their face and where you saw them? Then do you remember their name? Then do you remember the business? A relationship, not transactional. Long-term community. Know, like, and trust.
I really like that. And I think one of the things between us, of course, you mentioned when we were discussing right before we went on, is music. And we're not discussing music here today, but we both love music, and that's something we have in common, and we're into music jokes, and that's part of the relationship. So I'm beginning to see really easily what you mean by relationship marketing.
And all of the people that are answering, when you and I post something, it's all the same people we know from these groups, and now we go, oh wait, they actually know that, right? That we found a common bond. And in our business, being Big Frog, and every business has it, the frog stands for friends, recreation, occupation, and geography. So with every customer that comes in, turn them into a client, make them personal, not transactional. Make sure you know something about them and connect. And you're doing that out in public too. It's like, you don't want to be, there's 3 types of people at a networking event, and that's those that come like 2 and after hours to stand in the corner and see their people they haven't seen in a month. They're not there to network, they're there to socialize. Then you've got the person who's completely new and doesn't know how to do anything, and then the person who can make 3 or 4 good connections. You talk to somebody you know, somebody they know comes over, you get to meet them, and then there's the person running around passing out business cards like it's water. Which one do you want to be? Which one are you most known for in the long run? The one that you're talking to your people and you connect somebody and you know them personally and you're known for something more than the sign on the door, or the business card is an invoice, you better call me. Oops, it didn't work. I'm not going to that event again.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. So then relationship marketing is more than just even. Well, let me rephrase that. To build that relationship, you do have to find a common bond. And then the notion of building the relationship has to come from a place of, authenticity, because people know when you're not being genuine.
Right. Right. I mean, if you've got to back it up, and in your home business, and I thank you for letting me on when I'm not home business, but everybody that's a home business, you're it, right? You're going to people, or in Jensen's case, you're Zooming to people, you're team viewing. In my case, there's a store they can come to. So it doesn't have to be me they're coming to, but when they meet me and understand me, they have to know that whether I'm in the store or not, it's the same product. Right? When they see Hank in a networking thing and he tells a speech, he better be genuine and deliver what he says. Right? You can know, you can like, but you better trust. And trust is not an easy thing to do. And I mean, there's all this other networking and marketing come in all forms. You want to back up your brand with all of the social media things, and yes, you have an email blast, and yes, you have a good website, and maybe you throw a good party at your facility if you can, but all of it has to come together, and there has to be consistency, genuineness, if that's a word, transparency. I mean, that's huge, right? It's like, and you see people with a home business, and but then their personal Facebook overshadows that. And we know some people that you start to go, okay, in the business they're great, but then you watch their personal Facebook and you go, whoa, right? It's like there's a fine line of who you are business and who you are not. I mean, Jensen said, have time for yourself. Yes, but you're still a business person, and you've got to watch how you carry yourself.
Right, which brings us to the notion of social media, and it is a fine line. And I think that those of us who have personal pages and those of us who have business pages need to know when not to cross. There's things that I will put on my personal page that in a million years I would never put on my business page. One of them being politics, because there's nothing more polarizing right now than politics.
Right.
But how does social media and traditional marketing, such as radio, fit into relationship marketing and networking?
Well, the concept of marketing and social media is sell, 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 and sell, right? I've got this deal and you should go now and low until the end of the month. Even on social media, it's like, I've got this, you should buy, you should buy. Where we've grown it is, I'll go to a networking event, I'll go to a ribbon cutting. It's not my business, but I get to take a photo, I get to post. I was at so-and-so with so-and-so for a ribbon, like it's a chamber ribbon cutting at this place. Here's a couple of key people. I wasn't selling anything. I was being community ambassador, saying, hey, look, there's a business that opened, or look, there was this event, or look who was there, right? And you're hyperlinking them so that they also get the love. You're putting the emphasis on everybody else. When I opened, and I think you were there, I know you've been at our after hours, but we had 350 people at our ribbon cutting and 4 chambers. And not everybody's going to join 4 chambers, but somebody said to me, because we had the Army, the fire trucks, 10 nonprofits, 15 businesses, cheerleaders, a gem mine, a race car. Why are you taking the emphasis off of yourself? I said, I'm not. We are community, right? The emphasis is about everybody else. And that is where social media matters, that you're not supposed, you're going to sell and you're going to talk about your products. But what else is going on? I mean, what ties in the community? What's the relationship marketing? I am a part of something bigger. We all are.
Yes, we are. I'd like to remind our listeners that you're listening to WPVM LP Asheville 103.7, globally at WPVMFM.org. And this is the Home Business Success Show. I'm your host, Hank Eder, and my guest in this segment is David Riddell of Big Frog Custom T-Shirts. David, I've seen that you've always been involved in the community through service and through generosity. Do you believe it's important for businesses to be involved in their community?
Yes, and the reason being is, whether you are a one-man PR guy show out of the house like you or Jensen, or whether you are part of a bigger company, so what? Right? You open and everybody goes, yeah, I'm in business. Everybody will find me. I've got the slickest website and I got the slickest social media, or I got a storefront, or I showed up at one event. Nobody cares. You want to know why? We all have competitors. Sometimes you don't know them. Sometimes, like, I can list the 14 screen printers like that. And then there's however many Etsy people. And then there's online. So somebody can order shirts in their underwear at midnight. Why do they need me, right? How many PR for people are there anywhere that they don't even need to meet? They can just go online and have a phone consultation, or the massive PR firms. I mean, there's a big, I mean, the largest super center in America. I won't even say their name. If you stand outside their big blue, or stand outside the cash registers, and in between the restrooms, it says, look what we've done for the community. And it's all these checks. That's not community, that's writing checks. So because there's competition, how are you different? And you are different because you are part of a community. You are something bigger than your name on the door. Your differentiating factor, yes, you might have something you do differently. We do one type of printing differently than other. We can print one, but somebody else does that somewhere. Just around here, they don't. So It's finding the human in the business. It's finding the community. It's being more than the name on the door. So you've got to give back. It's time, it's service. I mean, you mentioned it. I was setting up my booth and I was done. So I could stand there and like sell to everybody that walks by. Why don't you? I'm glad you're setting up your booth. Why don't you have your shirt? Or I can go and help somebody because we're all there to do our best, right? So by helping, you remembered me that, whether you remember what I do or not. Now, we go way back, so you also know what I do, but you need community. You just do, or you're not in business.
Yes, and what would you say are the long-term effects of community involvement?
There was a gentleman in Asheville that everybody knows that passed away a couple of years ago, and he, I mean, at 20-something, had opened this business, and everybody knew him. And he was in our groups in Asheville, and I mean, I won't say his name just because, but when he passed away, our group met, and it was an hour having nothing to do with his business. Now, that's the drastic big picture of if you passed away, are you remembered for what you did or who you were? But think about it when you are alive. It's like, okay, I can get shirts from Dave. Yay. But I can also get other things from Dave and his team. Dave can help me. I mean, where should I go? How should I do this? What's the advice? Who's a referral, right? There are other reasons. And then you add Dave's wife who's in the store that, oh, the kids are in school. The families are from here. They're deep into the community. I serve on nonprofit boards. So we did more than open the door, sell, hope for the best. We believe that it's one big picture. And yes, you want to be known for the best in the business, and that's why we go into business. Is the business side, but are you more than that? I walk in a room and people go, "There's Big Frog." There are probably a third. Some people that don't know my name is David, right? But fine, that's called branding. And then there are some that don't care, or will never know, and then some that are going to put on a face, and they may or may not like me. But when you get that, I mean, first it's oh wow, you're known for something, and then work on because you're not going to get liked and trusted. You can be known all you want to, shove it out there. Here comes the funnel that is social media, but it's those next two steps that take a lot of time, a lot of hard work.
In other words, to get people to like you and trust you.
Yeah, and again, you have to back up what you do. And it's easier for you to back it up being one person. With me, I have a staff, so I can run around and smile and Big Frog it all day, ambassador to Big Frog all day, but I have to still hire and produce the results. And sometimes people like you better. I mean, they don't want you to mess up, but it's how you handle the mess ups, right? It's how you fall on your face and get back up. You don't, I mean, and we talked about it like in politics, it's, you don't want somebody that just is slicking with the speech. You and I in networking groups have seen people that almost can't tell what they do, but they're human, they're trying, they're there, they're genuine. That's cool, right? They'll get there. But at least if you fall on your face, admit it and say, we'll fix that, no problem.
Right, and there are ways, and this is what we call crisis PR. There are ways that when businesses make really big mistakes, there are ways that they can dig their way back out and show the public that they sincerely want to make it right, that they're not just trying to backpedal and avoid responsibility.
And sometimes you can do it on your own. Sometimes you have to call Hank the PR guy. Yeah.
Sometimes you do. What is the concept of servant leadership?
Servant leadership is tying all of those things together. And you asked if it was service leadership or servant leadership. I mean, being a good servant, and I know it's a church word originally, but all politicians and government workers are supposed to be community servants. And servant just means I'm here to serve. Yes, I'm here to make money, but I am providing a service to the community and providing us to the community as best we know how. Well, if you go about it strictly for money, you're never going to be a servant leader. It's because you're only doing it for your own sake, rather than the way you grow is the community changed, the market changed, the industry changed, right? How do I how do I continue to evolve, and how do we do what's best for the community in and out of the store? You are being a leader through your service, and sometimes the service is customer service, sometimes it's boards you're on, and even going to these chambers. You and I are probably the first ones to jump in when somebody new walks in a networking event, and you're not going to let them sit down and go, oh, and you see the scared look, break the ice, right? Just then you're doing something for somebody. You are being a leader. You are serving the community to get the better end result, right? We can all succeed. It's a big enough world.
So then by serving the community, especially the community that your specific business is intended to serve, by serving that community to the best of your ability, the other parts like success in business will follow because your reputation grows along with your service.
Right.
I think I've got it, by Jove.
I think you already did. We're here in hopes that everybody else doesn't. I'm not gonna forget that. That's the important part, because I know you also wanted to say, what would I tell folks just starting out? That nobody's got a get rich quick scheme. Nobody's going into business as the only. Right? You are never going to come up with some genius idea that you're the only one doing it, or if you did, it's not going to last that long. So patience, hard work, genuine transparency, and it is community. You have to be thankful for what you have every day. Don't take it for granted. In my other store, I lost a major account because he hired somebody that ended up going overseas, going the cheapest common denominator, getting it from Asia. We lost that account and still hit the same number the next year. And it was because we had enough clients. So instead of banking and assuming on the one big client, in Vegas they call them whales, right? I didn't sit back and rest on my laurels and say, I have this big client, that'll help. No, we kept on working hard at it and had enough clients to offset when we lost somebody big. And that's what you have to do in business, is appreciate, don't take for granted, but keep working. I mean, this is not for very few people is it once you get there, then there's a stopping point. I think it's a continuous grind. I mean, it becomes easier in some senses, and you find, as Jensen said, your work-life balance. But it's a constant cycle, because new people, new ideas, new changes, and you've got to keep going.
Yes, you mentioned that this big client somehow ended up going with somebody overseas to go the cheapest route, and I'd like to bring up the notion of caveat emptor, let the buyer beware, because I've had a few clients who for a brief time left and went on to get somebody who could blog for them, let's say, that's part of one of these online, cookie cutter blogging services. And not only did they get mediocre blogs, but one of them found out that the blogs that they were putting on their site were just the same as blogs that were going on other people's sites.
They just changed the words.
If you're going to spend $15 for a blog, you basically get a $15 blog. And there's no guarantee that it's not duplicate content, which will strike you down in the search engines rather than help you. So,
and we say that nicely. I mean, I can get frustrated, not to them, and I'm not gonna be very pointed angrily and say you'll be back. If you do what you are supposed to do, then yes, the buyer beware will be there, but you just can't take any bit of business for granted. COVID proved that. I mean, it proved that it doesn't matter how good a 2019 you had and knocked it out of the year, you had a great whatever. Guess what? Something is going to come along that's going to humble you and say, watch me take away all your clients, because schools are out, churches, camps, nonprofits are all out. They did not like me. They just weren't open. And so they couldn't come to me. So I lost a lot of clients this year, having nothing to do with who I am. It had to do with this big thing that we can't see that said, hold my mask and watch this.
I see. Yeah. Well, Big Frog, I mean, you're in the business of branded apparel, whether it's T-shirts, other types of things that people wear, scarves, I suppose. I guess you don't do shoes, but could you tell me where branded apparel fits in with some of the marketing that we've discussed?
So this show is a radio show, so your voice is what we've got. But when you also see it on, when you put out the link, right behind you is a computer screen. And yes, your name's down in the bottom. And yes, it's your show. But other than that, how do we know you? It says Hank the PR guy on your hat. So you and I are sitting in a networking meeting and there's 45 people and you get to stand up, you get to pass around business cards and you get to stand up and you get to say it. But from the second, if you're wearing apparel, from the second you walked in through the whole thing, it's kind of like that subliminal music played in your head that they're seeing your logo. You're in the gym, at the bank, at the grocery store, your kids, your logo is there. Think about the Cokes and the Toyotas and the McDonald's, and they didn't get there overnight. And all of those places, even Kentucky Fried Chicken, stretched it to KFC. Target's just a circle now. That takes tons of years of expensive branding and continuous branding, but it's in your face. Well, wherever you go, you can have your logo. So you can spend money on radio, you can spend money on social media, or you can spend it on apparel, or all of them, and it ties it in. So that even when you don't get a chance to speak, your logo is visible.
Right, so if someone's looking at me and they see that hat that says Hank the PR guy, they will remember that I am Hank the PR guy over time, especially if they see me time and again at meetings wearing my Hank the PR guy hat.
Well, and you don't know if in the grocery store, I mean, it may not even be a conversation that somebody needs something and they see it on the shirt, it sticks in that. I have a car wrap that I don't do car wraps, but it's one of the best investments I've ever done. You're stopped and people look up from their phone for 2 seconds at the stoplight and there it is. It's in their head. They don't know how, right? They could have seen the shirt. They could have seen the car wrap. They could have seen a social media post. They could have heard me somewhere. All of that matters. That's relationship marketing, that you're not just shaking hands. You are everything slowly and doing it not just in a sell way, but in an information, helpful community way. But yes, if somebody's just in the grocery store line and looks over and, ooh, landscaping, and that name is there, or wait, shirts? Cool, I was thinking about that.
That definitely makes a lot of sense. Hey, we're coming to that time where our time is running out. So if you don't mind, please tell our listeners how to best get in touch with you.
So it's pretty simple. I mean, everything leads to Big Frog Asheville. I mean, our website, bigfrog.com/Asheville, email Asheville, Big Frog. We Google very well, which is what we all talk about. You type in Big Frog, it's going to pull up and it's going to give you to all of the social media channels and the traditional, I mean, call us, stop in, because we're brick and mortar. Easy enough to talk about your logo on anything you need it on. Well, so like Hank the PR guy, you can be noticed.
Thanks, David. Those are some great tips. We should all take to heart that we want to be more than just the sign on the door or the name on the business card. And the key is in building the relationships with people that we meet at business networkings and everywhere we go. David, I thank you so much for being here with us today.
Oh, thank you. This is always awesome. It's good to see you someday soon in person.
And to our listeners, thanks for tuning in with us today. Before I sign off, I'd like to say that there are some great resources available for people who run home businesses, including an online community of like-minded business folks, like-minded home business entrepreneurs. If you want to learn more, please drop me an email at hank@hankeder.com. Please join us again next week. We'll be back every Friday at 10 a.m. here on WPVM LP Asheville 103.7 and on the web globally at WPVMFM.org. Here's wishing all of you a fabulous day of home business success.